What's up, guys? This is Dave, and I have something a little more imaginative, I guess I would say. So I'm going to preface this that I am, this idea is using imagination and a story from the Bible. So if you're not interested, I totally understand, but I'm not trying to get religious here at all. I am a Christian, but I'm using this more in a imaginative context. So bear with me. Let me show y'all real quick what I'm talking about. Okay, so I'm taking this Khan Academy Imagineering in a box, and it goes through this idea of making a world or a land using what the Imagineers do. So that's basically where I'm going with this. Let me put this back down. So anyways, like, it goes through this whole process of how Disney makes themed lands. And so it starts with the story, and then it goes to a theme, and the theme is what tells your story. And then you have layout. So you have like the map, like how is your land gonna look? And then what buildings are you going to have? Like, everyone knows that Disney has that forced perspective buildings where you see the main part of the building on the first floor, it's normal size, and then it gets smaller as it goes up, but it looks, like it's high up in the air or big. And then the last part, well, I wouldn't say the last part, the part that I'm at right now is called landscape and plant life. And so here's where I get into the Bible. I was going to go with a themed land like Lord of the Rings or something, which would be amazing, but I was like, what's different? Because there's a lot of comments of people like, Lord of the Rings, and I'm like, yeah, I don't want to do the same thing everyone else does. I want to challenge myself to think outside the box and not read someone's comment and then go with that because, like, oh yeah, that's a good idea, which could totally be a good idea. So I went with the Garden of Eden. So if you go in Genesis of the Bible, it talks about when the world was created. It says 7 days. I don't know if 7 days or 7 little days. I doubt it, because science has shown us that it happened over a course of like millions of years. And so when, that's something that I'll leave up to God, because I believe that He created the world. But when we look at the book of Genesis and it talks about the creation of the world, there's a lot of thought processes that went through my head because of this idea of time that Joe Rohde from Disney talked about when they use plants at Disney World or at the Disney parks. And so he gave an example where they would go to someone's house where they had like maybe a 40-year-old tree, and that tree grew in such a way that it like curved over the house, and they wanted that tree. And so they would pay for that tree, dig it up, put it into the park, and then they would build their structure around the curve of that tree. Because when you look at it, you look at that tree when you're in the park and you're like, that's an old tree. It's been there for a while. And then you look at the building next to it and you're like, that building must be old as well because of how it looks like the tree grew over it. And although all they did was build that building to the tree. But it's just, it's kind of how they mess with the mind to make you think that you're in this place that's been there for a very long time. Especially at some of those areas like, what do they call it? Like Adventureland, and the places where you would expect those areas to be there for a while mentally. So I started thinking about the Garden of Eden, and I'm like, well, what would that look like if I was going to make a themed land around the Garden of Eden? Like this idea of where heaven met earth, and I don't understand heaven completely, because like for me it's like a place out there. Everyone says up in the sky. I just think it's another, I don't know, it's weird when you actually think about it, but it's an area where these two worlds collided, and like this idea of perfection was made before the idea of sin or wrong or evil entered the world. And so what would that world look like, where you have no sin, no death? Is there a passage of time, because God created the world and science shows us that we live in time, like that's a given. And so, but before the idea of evil came in the world, was time different? Like my mind's kind of going crazy right now. Was time different, or was it just, did it exist? I'm sure it existed because the sun and everything else was made. So like these are the thought process that goes into my head, because I started thinking about the plant life. I was like, what would the plant life look like as far as being aged? Like when you read in Genesis, it talks about the tree that had fruit on it. So that fruit came because the tree was mature. It wasn't a sapling with fruit on it as far as what we know today. So I'm sure God could have been, bam, I made a tree and it's 20 years old because he's God. Or it followed the sequence of time and it's a 20-year-old, a 10-year-old, 15-year-old, whenever trees are able to make fruit. And that would show that there's a passage of time when God created the world. And then it started getting me thinking about like when he created, it talks about Adam and Eve. So when he created humanity, was Adam like, I'm going to make Adam, boom, he's a 20-year-old guy? Or was he a child? Was he a baby? And then there's time that passes. And what we know in Genesis is just the story, the main points of the story. So it's very interesting. And I know that there's other creation stories within other religions too. The difference is that with the idea of Christianity, at least, is that the gods didn't just create the humans to do work for them, but it was more of like God created humanity to partner with them in a sense of like, hey, I made this world and I want you to take care of it with me. So yeah, it's a very interesting thought process that I've been having about this whole thing, and it really got me thinking about like what would my world look like how old would the trees be? And there would be like this newness about things, but there would be like this establishment about plants in my world as well. So it's very imaginative. So I would encourage you to take this course. It's a Disney course on Khan Academy. It's called Imagineering in a Box. And it's really like stretched my mind a little bit about, especially with what I picked. I think Lord of the Rings probably would have been a little bit easier because I've seen the movies. So I have like some type of visualization to base what that world could look like. And then I've read the books too. But with this one, it's kind of like, I don't know, like what, and it just made me think more about like, the Bible and I guess not, I hate to say religion because it's not really, I don't like the term religious because then it makes me think of all the crazies out there, the crazy religious people. And I don't feel like I'm that type of person. Like I'm cool with you if you're a Christian or not. I have friends that are Muslim. I have friends that don't believe at all. And I love them all. Like they're all awesome people and I respect where and what they view. So anyways, guys, that's going to be it. Go take this course. I'll put the link in the description. I'm sorry if it got a little too deep for some people, but it was just like my mind was churning. I was like, this is exciting. This is cool. This is fun. And I wanted to share it with the rest of you guys. So you'll have a good rest of the week. I do have some Easter videos coming out. I know it's like a week and a half ago now, but they will be coming out. We just had a lot going on. So love you guys. Thanks for watching, and I'll see y'all in the next video. Bye.